Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Method in Madness. It's been a week. I took a break last week and I wasn't here, but today I'm here again with yet another episode and a fabulous one today. We're going to talk about communication skills and developing communication skills in our children today. This episode is specially designed for teachers and parents alike. The whole point of doing Method in Madness is to bring parents, teachers, and children together on one platform so that we can empathize with each other, understand each other, and learn from one another. Today, to talk about communication skills and the importance of it, and also to share certain elements and tools that parents and teachers can use to help their children develop. We have with us Maura Doran. Maura is a very dear friend from Northern Ireland. Maura is an experienced English and drama teacher, writer, and public speaking coach. She has lectured in English language at Queen's University Belfast and has been a performing arts and communication skills examiner with Trinity College London for over 20 years. I met Maura when I had recently joined Trinity College London as their only academic consultant in India. And I was fortunate enough to have spent some very quality and wonderful time understanding the nuances of communicating. Today, to talk about communications and more, we have with us Maura Doran. Welcome, Maura.
Hello, Vaishali. How are you? Lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to have you with us, Maura, over here. Such a vast experience of working with children, with teachers, so many schools and centers all across, your country. Maura, it's really a privilege to have you with us.
Thank you. And welcome everybody to today. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
So just to let all our audience members know, Maura and I, we are going to talk for the next 45 minutes. Please feel free to join us through the comment section. Please do chat and share your views with us as we talk. And the last 15 minutes of our session will be your questions and our supposedly answers. We'll take some questions and try to answer them. But please do stay tuned and keep with us. All right. Let's start, Maura. Communication skills is a big, big word. And what I have always seen, Maura, is that when parents bring their children or they come to me or they are calling me up over phone, the first thing that they talk about is confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to understand first, what exactly is communicating? What exactly is communication skill? What is that skill? And how does it help in building confidence?
Absolutely. Yes. I think the first thing to point out is that we see public speaking as communicating, and then there's communication skills. And most of us are driven by the idea of public speaking, which indeed is terrifying because you're standing there with an audience and they're waiting for you to speak. Of course, that is prepared speech. You know the audience in advance, whether it's for an interview or a presentation or an after-dinner speech. So you have prepared for that. The rest of our lives is about communicating verbally and non-verbally. So really, from the interaction you have with the cashier in a shop, you have a communication with them. That's your contract. There's an expectation of how you behave with them. Then you have the communication with your family. You have communication at work with your friends. So what is important is that we give our children the skills to understand how to communicate. And even though we can all speak, that's fine. But, without it, you can play a piano by just hitting keys, but it doesn't make much noise, or it doesn't make a very pleasant noise, let's say. Whereas when you're taught to play the piano, it sounds right. You communicate with your audience. And it's the same with our words. We can muddle along with our communication skills. Of course we can. But when you actually teach your child and give them the skill of how to communicate, how to read body language, how to understand that one set of language, the set of language that you have with your friends is very different to the language that you have when you're with a group of older people, for example, or when you're in school. So it's understanding all of that. And the main thing about it, I feel, is it's such a blessing to give to a child, is that they get a voice. They're not afraid to put their hand up in school and everybody turn and look at them. They're not afraid to walk into a room and stay still or be the little mouse. So it's invaluable to give them the tools. They're very simple, Vaishali. They're not complicated. It's not rocket science. We're not sending to ask them to make a rocket and go to the moon. It's so simple. It's so easy. And like everything else, the more they practice, the better they become at the ease of just communicating with others.
When we adults, we are bringing up our children as teachers or as parents, we often feel that my child is unable to speak, in small groups or maybe small get-togethers, family get-togethers, or maybe school debates. As a parent, what should I keep in mind when I see that my child is not really giving an effort and making an effort to speak? What is it that is going on in the child's mind, or what is it that I should, do as a parent?
Yes,
because usually in India, parents, we get really worried that why is my child not speaking, and we tend to push them a little bit. So what is it that we should be actually thinking about?
Yeah, I think as a parent, you will run your own diagnostic because you know the situation of where the child is in the family, the interaction with other people in the family, etc. So all that combination is up to the parent to look at it and think, what are the influences? Is there a dominant brother or sister that this child is speaking up with? Or is she the quiet one who pushes someone else forward to speak for her or him? So I think as a parent, run your own diagnostic at, why is my child not speaking? What is hampering them from coming forward? And you will know yourself. Maybe they've had a traumatic event. Maybe they've had a loss. You just don't know. But I think try and analyze it at as the parent. And then after that, depending, of course, on the age of the child, you might want to sort of gently go for a walk with them, go somewhere you can go, just the two of you on your own, and say to them, you're very quiet, can I help? Was there anything we can talk about? And that ability to have that closeness with your child comes with, from a very early age, being with them as much as you can in terms of allowing a platform to communicate. And I'm a great one for promoting the kitchen table or the dinner table as much as you possibly can when you're sitting around with your children. The other thing about a child is you're not going to get a lot out of them if they've just come straight out of school and you're saying, what happened today? They're tired. They've been working in school all day. They're not going to tell you. But maybe later on around the dinner table, when you're sitting there, suddenly you'll find, oh, this happened today, or that, you're providing this place for them to speak to you. And so by that, if you find your child is quiet, are they speaking to you? Are you encouraging them to speak? Do they have their place in that? You say to them at the table, oh, well, what do you think of this? And also, when you're speaking, try to avoid closed questions, such as, did you have a good time at school today? Well,
which is a yes or a no.
Okay, so something like saying to them, what happened today that was really good, or what was the best thing that has happened today? Make it exciting, make it open, but always providing that time. And sometimes we have 4 children, and I find when they were younger, the car was a great place to chat because you had nothing to interfere. And obviously mobile phones were starting to come in, but they weren't there as much. But I find the car was a great place to chat with the children. And also, as I say, dinner, having a meal with your children. And I know in times of COVID, it's not so easy to go out, but, going out somewhere different. It's not run of the mill, and they become more energized, and so do you, and you've less distractions, somewhere and focus in. So I hope that answers or goes towards helping.
Yes. Yeah, it does, Maura, because we have been doing these episodes for a very long time now. And every episode, the conversation steers into the direction of the parent has to model whatever he or she wants their child to become. And I feel that communication, is key when the child is growing up. I mean, even when the child does not have words and is just putting sounds together, maybe. So communication starts over there. So yes, spending time with your child definitely is something that as parents we should look at.
Yeah, and observation, I think, as well. Observing and the heads down a little bit, or the walks that little bit slower, or your child, and you'll tune into those little things. You go, gosh, she's not in good form today, or I wonder what's up. And then at the right time, as I say, you have to pick your time very, very carefully, that it is the right time that they will open up to you. But you're right, that chattering and to babies, that's communication. And the other thing that we forget is, communication is nonverbal.
Yes.
A smile, and I sometimes you see people and they're glum or gloomy, and you think, gosh, if I give you a smile, would it cheer you up? And it's true. If you smile at someone, they will smile back. And, if children can learn that as well, that helps. And communication it's a two-way process. We think communication is all about the other person, but it's not. Communication is a two-way process. You're giving out signals, I am giving out signals, and we have to look at the other person and think, okay, what are they telling me? By everything, by everything. And as you look at someone, you're making judgments in terms of age or whatever it is, but also their movements, the eye contact. You have to really look at all of that. One of the gauges I find, particularly when I'm preparing adults, not so much children, but with the adult, I look at the feet. The feet, they're a fantastic indicator of what's going on up here. They really, really are. If the feet are in any way, if someone's feeling any way hesitant or nervous, the feet will be turned in or on top of each other.
Yes, like that.
You just watch
or like this.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's a little exercise I do. And basically it's to encourage the learner to look confident. And there is this saying that if you look confident, you become confident. And it's actually true. So, what I'll do is get them to set their feet really, really strong on the floor, stand aligned and grow. And I'm tiny. I'm only 5 foot, as you know. So I grow. You can stand there and you can grow. And whether you're 5 foot or 10 foot, you still can hold your presence in a room because of how you're looking confident. So what I'll do is I'll say, right, put your feet now together. So they put their feet together, and I said, I'm going to push you. So be warned. And you go to push them, and of course they topple. There's no balance. And then you bring back. Okay, put your feet really, really rooted strong. Elevate your head. Get yourself strong, and then you try and push. Well, you can't. You just they're solid, and that's important that they start with their feet and actually keep their feet looking very, very strong. And that goes through the whole body. That ripples up through the whole body, as does the fact as well that their breathing is more centered. They're much more in control. And once your breathing is controlled, then you're in control. So this idea of the feet is the big tip I would say. Get your feet really, really strong. There's a speaker on TED Talks. Her name is Amy Cuddy, Amycuddy, and she's an interesting girl in that her identity was that she was extremely intelligent. She's an American, really intelligent. She was in a car crash, all that disappeared. All that completely disappeared. She became something else, and she had to rebuild herself. And she tells her story, and she talks about fake it till you make it. And basically, she physically had to pretend that she was confident, that she had an ability. She kept seeing herself, when she got to college, she thought she was an imposter, that she shouldn't be there. She hadn't a right to be there. And her lecturer at the end of first year said, you have every right to be here and you're going to stay. So it's an interesting watch for people as a follow-up, how Amy Cuddy just got this confidence. Because if you don't have confidence and the skills to speak, you can get left behind. You can go into dark places. Your head can become very, very negative. And I feel if you can communicate, you have it for your work environment, for your home environment, for your social, for relationships when you want to speak up or you've something that you want to say and you're not afraid because you've practiced at it. So it's a really, really important skill to pass on to children. And like you, we both teach, and I love it when a parent comes in and they'll go, so and so's quiet, whatever, you have the chat, and you do your own diagnostic on the child, and gently you watch that confidence grow. You have to do it whatever suits that child. They're all completely different. Their backgrounds are different. They're number 2 in a family or number 3 in a family, or everything about it's a boy, it's a girl. All these influences, you've got to take all that with the child, and you've to adapt it. I think last time we were chatting, I was telling about 2 little boys I had, and the fun thing was, they were bright sparks, really bright, but extremely quiet. But I discovered very early on that both of them had a wicked sense of humor. I mean, absolutely, really, really. So what I did was I asked them all for the next week if they would all find a joke. And at the end of the next class, we would take 10 minutes and we would, they would each stand up. It was a group of 10 children. And the boys stood up and told their joke. And I was just over the moon, Vaishali, because that was it. They cracked it. They stood up in front of this group and they each told their joke. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but for me, I knew that was it. They were on the track, to actually succeed and to be able to speak up and speak out. And they did.
Yes, I think, Maura, it has a lot to do with the teacher as well, the kind of environment that the teacher creates, conducive for the children to open up as well, with whatever little content they have. I think the teacher plays a huge, huge role over here. And there are lots of teachers who are watching us today, Maura. When a teacher finds a child who's very bright, or maybe has a lot of potential, but is not able to give words to the thoughts, or is not able to stand up and raise his hand and speak. What can a teacher do other than talking about this and discussing it with the parent? What is it that the teacher can do at her end? And about Indian classrooms, 35, 40 children.
I do. You have large classes.
Yes.
As we do here in Ireland. So, one of the things that I think is that there is an element of discipline in the class. And I don't mean rigid, hard, heavy stuff. But I think when you have, and I remember a teacher I knew, and, she had a class of 30 children, and she was an avid lover of English and language, and she wanted all 30 children to finish their academic year, that those children would have been about 7, 8. And she wanted them to really do well. So she set them ground rules in agreement with them. And she said, now these are the ground rules. So we do this, we do that. So the children were absolutely clear on what she was setting. So, she was actually quite clever, because by doing that, she got the children to be calm, and they knew they would get rewarded, etc., etc. So she was able then to divide the class up into little groups to do their own little pieces of work. And the classroom was not the formal in lines. What you would do then is break it up and say, come on, everybody move the desks. Let's move the desks. Come on, have a bit of fun here. And break it up into small groups and give them a little task to do. And it could be you've taken something like a poem and you actually draw the characters or create the stage for it. So you're actually making it tangible. You're actually making them sit, cut, paste, draw, fit, do costumes, whatever it is. And then you can focus in on the little groups where you know you have your quiet child. And of course, that quiet child will be put in a group that you know they're not going to be dominated by the leader type, the strong leader type. So you can sit in with them and give them something that they have ownership of. So the ownership could be the costume design. So they can draw the costume and they have something they're proud of. And then when they gently with them, you can say, now, would you like to tell us, you created this costume for this character. Why did you like the stripy pajamas for them? What was that about? And because they have ownership of it, you will find they will vocalize it, maybe just to that small little group initially, but that will grow and grow and grow. But it's getting the children involved instead of just learning, actually the sense of ownership, and they feel they have a worth, and they have something to contribute to the group as well. And everybody, when you give them the big round of applause at the end, and you just watch the smiles on their faces, and they've got something, and then they can take that home and show it to their parents. Go, I did this. I created this. I think it's about finding with each child as well, what's their passion, what are they interested in outside of the school curriculum, but it will always feed back into their curriculum through their English or whatever else, But I think finding a passion for them as well, if the teacher can go, what's the child really into? And you'll know, Vaishali, when we're preparing the children for comm skills for Trinity College, you don't just automatically say, well, there, you're doing that, you're doing that.
No, we don't.
I mean, and that's the value of Trinity, in that the child selects their pieces, and we are big in helping them to select their pieces. And I think that's magic, that, instead of, right, there's your poem, just learn it. It's not like that. It's giving them the sense of ownership. And out of that comes independence. And again, you're teaching them life skills again, and the communication naturally flows out of that.
Yes, I think we are talking drama over here, Maura. And I think drama plays a huge role in building communication skills in children. I've been working with children, not as long as you are, but for quite some time now. And whenever I see a quiet child and I engage the child in some little work within the drama, setup, the next session, that child is, comes forward to ask for more work. I've seen that happen. And I think when you spoke about posture and connecting the posture, the drama game that we play is called Stand Like a Tree. So when you are a tree and you breathe in, and when you're breathing out, you're sending your roots down. So it's a game of imagination that we do with children. And then we ask them to imagine that the roots are going into the ground, and you're getting grounded, and you're sucking in more energy from the earth, and you're feeling very strong. That kind of imagination exercise really, really helps. And I think that reminded me of that. Yeah.
Yes. I think a lot of those drama exercises, the children think they're fun, but we know there's an outcome. We know,
yes.
We know there's an outcome. But drama, I find is, and it's just lovely, especially, when you're examining what I would call a reserved child. Do everything correct, do everything right. They're not shy. They're just served, polite, and then choose this horror of a character who's nasty and evil, and they get such joy. And in the conversation, you go, "You really enjoyed that, didn't you?" Yeah, it was great. It was great. And I said, "Why? Well, I can't be that at home, so it's really, really nice." So it's almost like a valve that you've given them to just, take on this horrible, horrible character, like, the witches, whatever it is. And as they get older, they'll take on another character out of a psychiatric ward, or I mean, it's the plays we're talking about here. So it's a wonderful opportunity to use their imagination, but to get rid of the shackles that they hold, just from being polite and being correct and never being allowed to be naughty as such. But I think the drama, the physicality of it is great for the children as well, to understand movement and to understand the importance of it. And of course, this teamwork that they get from it. Recently, I was listening to something recently, and it's about a girl, and she was talking about now that everything's been done through Zoom, and she does stage management, stage direction. She's in school in the UK. And she was saying she's overjoyed in that the quieter ones who normally do the backstage and all the quiet stuff, they don't want to be in front of the camera, she said they're just blossoming because of this technology. So whilst COVID has a negative on effect, there are some upsides in that quieter child is now using technology, to set stuff, and it's all gone out online, and they don't have to appear anywhere because they don't want to. But again, it's coming back to every child is different, every person is different, and finding their passion. And once you find your passion, you'll find your voice as well.
Yes, finding the voice is very important, Maura. And I think the biggest fear that parents have is that what if my child is unable to speak up when it's needed, when it's required? For instance, when the child is getting bullied, or maybe some kind of injustice has been done with the child, and the child is unable to speak. What should the parent do? Should the parent send the child into a public speaking program or a drama program? What is it? I'm coming back to public speaking and the difference between public speaking and communication skills and developing life skills. What is it that the parent should do, or what should the teacher recommend the parent must do outside of school?
Outside of school, extracurricular, I would go along with the drama element of it, because you can have so many scenarios. Public speaking is about you; it's fact. And yes, but it's always you standing up to speak. It's always you talking about whether it's an informative speech or descriptive or persuasive, whatever it is, or call to arms, whatever it is. It's you speaking. Whereas when you go into drama, you can take on so many persona, as we've just talked about. But also issues come up that are, sometimes I would find with teaching drama, and the children bring up so many areas. I feel, gosh, I'm not a child psychologist. I'm going to wrap this up just here gently, and I'll have a think about where it's going. I mean, I've had children who really, really good. One girl in particular, she struck me, really, really confident girl. She's about 15, and we were doing drama, and she burst into tears, and I didn't know what it was. It turned out her brother was in prison, and we did the conversation, not the conversation, but the drama had ended up. Nobody knew. But she was able to open up to the rest of the group and talk about how it was affecting her parents, that her brother was in prison. And I realized the value of that moment of drama, that she was brought to that place. Now, maybe a little bit by design, maybe she had engineered it that we ended up, because she had this thing she wanted to say. But yeah, I think drama, particularly with that quiet child, you give them the okay to shout and to have their voice. And through drama, as you talk about finding the voice, they're also finding their body.
Yes, they are.
And their voice together through drama. Some people look at drama and go, oh, it's very, very good. But I mean, the value of drama for everybody is just wonderful for your own development. And no matter how late you come into drama in life, you will still learn You will learn
Yes.
so much.
Yes, you would. Maura, tell us a little bit about your experience as a teacher. Anybody that you have seen grow up right in front of you, from a small little child to an adult and doing good for himself or herself. Share your experience, Maura, as a teacher, and your fears and your triumphs, your achievements.
I have so many. I have so many, because they're not your children, but they nearly become your children when they, when they're with you. But to this day, I will have people contact me and say, Maura, I'm getting married, and thank you so much. I know how to do my wedding speech. I have it planned, or I'll get it after the wedding. Thank you so much. If I hadn't done public speaking with you. So what I find, the journey of the children that I would take in would start off, the children would come to me, the younger ones would have been 4 and 5, and you're working with very gentle little poems and group dramas, and it's a make-believe imaginary world. And then as they grow up, you're giving them more language, more literature, more prose, working with books. Again, they're performing, and you're working gently with this use of voice that they understand, loud, soft, high, low, fast, slow. They know all that. They get it. They understand punctuation, and they understand phrasing, and they understand what the author is saying. So that is all important. And then as they move up, that combination of poetry, prose, and drama, usually by the time here they go into our secondary school, here would be about 11 or 12. The drama might not take the focus. They will then turn more to the communication skills and the public speaking. And that's because in school, there's more of a demand for them to stand up and speak, in terms of, it could be they have to do a talk about sport or biology as a group, they have to do it. So that skill becomes a necessity. The drama is always there in the background for fun. We'll always have that. But I would find their heads would naturally turn towards the public speaking. And then, of course, after that, they're getting ready for maybe interviews, or they're getting ready for college applications and interviews as well. So you're skilling them up in all of that. And that was the great thing about the Trinity. You had this mixed match. You didn't have to follow.
Yes.
You could do drama one year and comms the next, and work it through, which is absolutely fantastic. And then there's a stage where they will make the decision. I really want to do my diploma now in public speaking. And they see the value of that as the piece of paper, because when they go to apply for a job or college, it says they can speak, they've got their communication skills. You go, well, that's, don't have to worry. There's a skill, and it's such a transferable skill, because if they're going to go into a meeting, no problem contributing to a meeting or chairing a meeting. It's not a problem for them. They know all that. They've done all that. They've worked with teams before. So that would be the journey. But always, there's always somebody phoning up, going, "Oh, Maura, I got the job for whatever." I had one fellow who I taught, and he was, "I am going to be an actor. I am going to be an actor," and that was it. He was so focused, and he never ever lost it, and he stayed with it. And I took him so far. I could take him through the exams and all of that, but I wasn't in those days doing the large formal productions. So he went to the local theatre group, which welcomed him with open arms. He went on to the West End. He was Merlin on TV. Yeah. So Colin Morgan is his name.
Oh, congratulations.
Colin. Yeah, I mean, but he knew what he wanted. Colin knew exactly what he wanted. So it was so wonderful. He found his passion, and he found it early. So his journey was different to the guys who wanted to go on to do law or whatever, veterinary or whatever studies after. But it's introducing language and literature, which you do with the nursery rhymes, with the little poems, and then gradually work it towards where they are happier in their own skin to present or to speak in public or to communicate.
I think presentation is something that is key to performance and drama and public speaking. And presenting anything can work, right? I mean, you present a poem, you present a story, you present an artwork that you've created, you talk about your artwork, or you talk about your favorite sport, like you said, giving a little talk. I think teachers or whoever is watching us today, we all must make a note of this, that we need to find that element, that thing, that passion that the child has for, and only once we find that as a teacher, we'll be able to direct them into that direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that presenting, you're saying, is performing. It's engaging your audience, whether it's in the theatre or in public speaking. You get somebody who's speaking and there's this monotone drone of a voice, and you just hear you feel your head going down, and go, oh, somebody just taken you and taught you the art of speaking. Read your audience, look at your audience. They're disappearing before you. It's public speaking is performing. It is performing as well. But it can open so many, it can open so many doors. I've met so many adults as well who are heart scared of getting up to speak, and they just will not, because that nobody has given them the skills. And as I said at the beginning, it's not rocket science. It's easy. I met one lady, and actually we were getting a house built, and she was with the architect's office. And I don't know what happened, but there was a lull in the conversation. Someone was waiting somebody on the phone, and she said, "What do you do?" And I explained, and she said, "Oh, I would really love to read in my church, but I can't do it. I just can't." And I said, "You can do it." And I could hear it meant so much to her, just to read in her church, So we did it, and she got there. So. So everybody has these fears about, all these eyes are looking at me if I stand up. It's not. Everybody has only got one set of eyes. The fact that it's 300 pairs of eyes doesn't matter. It's really only one person, in each seat looking at you. And that's not what's important. If you become obsessed on they're all looking at me, yes, you will. And if you don't know how to harness your nerves and make your nerves work for you, then you are going to fail. And it's back to this old fight, flight, or fight. You've got this adrenaline, and if you don't do something with it, heck, you're going to get nerves, you're going to get sick, you're going to faint. So I think giving, as you said, performing that no matter what your job is, if you can stand up and speak out, you're going to succeed.
Yes. Maura, if we look at communication skills, it's not just one skill, right? Because communication is like a huge umbrella. Yeah. And underneath there are lots of skills which we keep developing. How would you kind of, bring these or list these skills which fall under communication skills? So if I want to develop my communication skills over here as an adult or as a child, what are these skills that I need to develop so that I develop my communication skills?
I think the first one is listening. If you listen then and listen to hear, that will help a lot. That's the first thing about communication, having empathy with whoever is in front of you. And I keep saying to my students, you've got 2 ears and 2 eyes and 1 mouth. That's not an accident. 2 ears twice listening, 2 eyes, twice viewing, and 1 mouth. So I think listening is very, very important, and building an empathy with whoever is in front of you, whether it's your child or a fellow teacher or whoever it is. Where are they coming from? Where are you meeting them from? What's their journey that you're coming from, instead of just speaking from your point of view all the time? It's about where are they coming from, and taking the time to listen and to ask those open-ended questions to learn, a little bit more. So I think that's the first thing about communicating. You can talk all you want, but if the other person doesn't engage with you, it doesn't really matter. The sound might as well be off. You have to. What is important is to engage with the other person, that they want to communicate with you, and you are sending out signals. And I think this is the important thing I mentioned before. We feel it's all about the other person. It's a two-way process. It's about the messages that I'm giving. The smile, what is that saying? That's welcoming. Once somebody smiles, if you think about the grumpy shop assistant, you don't have a nice experience. But if the shop assistant is cheery, gives you a smile, you just feel that a little bit better. So I think that's the first thing, thinking about where the person is coming from and listening. The next thing is actually knowing what you want to say and thinking it through instead of just blabbering. It's actually thinking, well, what do I want to say? What result do I want from this communication? And communication, as I said, is everywhere in your life. The adult or the parent with the child. What do you want to achieve from this communication with your child? You want them to speak more. Well, then speak with them. Communication with your fellow worker as well. What do you want from that? Maybe in a meeting, what do you want the outcome to be from the meeting? So instead of actually just speaking for the sake of speaking, have a reason to speak. And the other thing that is important is modify your language and your voice to whoever you're speaking with as well. If it's a technical group of people and they speak that techno language, that's fine. But you've got to modify it. These people do not understand this technical language, so I have to simplify my language down. I'm a great believer in sometimes less is more, and simple language. You don't have to convolute it with big words to impress. I think simple language that people understand works better, and language that is apt as well. And recognizing as well that your voice changes according to whom you're where you're going. Because I was working in France as an au pair, and in Ireland we speak mightily fast. Okay, so we do speak fast. So I was with people whose English was limited, and of course this Northern Ireland accent was coming out. So I had to slow right down, and I had to articulate more because they couldn't understand what I was saying, basically. So I had to slow everything down. So when I came home to Ireland, it's like, your voice has changed. Yes, it has. I had to slow down to be understood. So I think that's important, that your language, when you're communicating, that your language is appropriate and that the speed of your speaking is appropriate as well. Other things are obviously your body language. If you're interested, you lean in, and if you're disinterested, you watch for the tapping hand or the yawn or the body language, the language that you have is giving out so much.
Talking about language, Maura, it's very interesting here in India because the moment we say communication skills, somewhere English is something that comes attached with that. How important is communicating in vernacular languages? Because all of us speak different languages because we are from different parts of India. And most of us think in our mother tongues. Now, with people with so many different mother tongues, how would you, I mean, what would you recommend a parent to put the child into a English speaking class who is unable to communicate, or first try and break the communication barrier in her own language, her own mother tongue?
Okay, I think the age of the child would be an important factor in that. So if the child was maybe just had Hindi, Gujarati or something and didn't speak English, then you land them into an English class, that they could struggle. So you might want to give them, some private English lessons to actually then put them into English. I am quite envious of you guys and the languages that you can all speak. You get, I speak Gujarati and Hindi and Urdu and what? So it's so lovely to I'm quite envious of you all, and you do it so confidently as well. I think just the value of English on top of all of that is probably important. So I just from having worked in India in all parts, and obviously the medium I'm using is English, and the children and the adults the medium would have been English. But I think as well for business and for politics and whatever, and I'm aware that some people don't have the skill of English, so I would recommend that you do actually have it. We would find here, when we speak to other people in other countries, we assume it's going to be done through English because that's all we know, basically. It's really, really, really sad. But then when you speak to someone in, French politician or whatever, they speak away to us in English, perfect in our own language. So back to your question, I would encourage English. It also opens up a lot of literature and poetry, and they can then read it in the tongue, the actual origin, the original language as well. But as I said, it depends on the age of the child. But I find English very, very prevalent where and everywhere I traveled, I found there was a lot of English, and people would automatically use it. So as an outsider, it's hard for me to really answer that properly. But my view would be, yes, I would recommend encouraging English. What you said there, it's a language, whereas the communication skills is different. Communication skills is really engaging and listening and hearing whatever language you are in. And communication skills can be I'm just thinking if someone's having a difficult time and you just simply put your hand on their shoulder, or that says volumes. They don't need more than that. That's communication as well, and whatever language it is.
True, absolutely true. It's time to take questions, Maura. People have been sharing their comments. I think we can look at Nupur's comment. She's saying some children are very enthusiastic to speak in public, but they become jittery when they have to speak publicly. How do they overcome it? That's stage fright.
Yeah, that's normal. Yeah. And they really want to do it. What I would do is make sure they know what they're going to say, and make sure that they have practiced it and understand it with or without notes. Not sometimes you don't want the rote sound to come along, but make sure they know where they're going. Maybe if they get jittery, give them cue cards, if that helps, little cue cards just to guide them on their way. But one of the important things is exercises before they go on stage. And what has happened is, this is the buildup of what we were talking about. The adrenaline just builds up, and you just get nervous and you can't cope with it. So what I do is, it's a very quick little exercise. Get them to stand nice and straight. Wiggle their toes. So they wiggle their toes, then they wiggle their feet. Then they move their knees back and forward, then shake their hips. And then we move the shoulders and the arms, and shake and get the head gently moving, just soft and gentle. And then get them to do a real dance on it, jigging up and down, jig up and down, up and down. And that will help dispel it. Also, work with their voice exercises, pretend you're putting a football in your mouth, the usual, and the big sounds where you look stupid and sound stupid, like all those, them, Vaishali. So the mouth is nice and limbered.
Yes.
Well, and the body is limbered. Also, think about physically before, get them to have, ensure that they have something to eat that is a slow energy. And then something that is before they go on, which is a fast energy. So you think about a sailor going out on a little boat here, they take a banana and a Mars bar of chocolate. So the banana is your slow energy, your Mars bar is your fast. And I'm not promoting eating chocolate. No, I'm not. But there are other ways to get fast energy. But by goodness, it does make a difference. So just, make sure they know their pace. Give them cue cards if that helps. Those little exercises, both the physical and the mouth exercises, and think about their slow and fast energy. And tell them to smile. Just say to them, smile, it'll be okay. Because it releases so much.
Yes, it does. It does. Thanks, Maura, for those tips. Pavitra R has a question. She's asking, how do you help a child who has gone into a shell due to some earlier experience with an earlier teacher?
Okay, I'm assuming this is a school setting rather than a private setting?
Yes.
Yeah. This is a tough one because they just carry on. They see you as that person in authority who will just give them the same experience, and their expectation is you're just going to be exactly the same. So again, it's about creating that environment whereby the child feels they trust you, that you've done something, that you're on their side, and that requires, depending on the trauma, that will require work. But sometimes if you have we have, depending on the age of the child, of course, teacher's helper today is so and so, and teacher's helper tomorrow is. So maybe that the child is your helper that day, and you give extra praise. They do something, give more praise. And I genuinely feel, don't correct a child in front of other children or ask them to explain their problems in front of others. It's just not going to happen. And I think, more praise that you can give to that child, the more the child will feel drawn to you, because you're seeing what they can do right, and they will want to do more for you. So it's about working with the child, maybe giving that child something extra and saying, look, I have this little piece and I can't make it work. Would you help me with this? Knowing that the child can do that, go, whoa, that's fantastic. Well done. Oh my goodness. That's really good. So it's all about that. And then maybe you create a situation where we talked about the teacher had you divide them into their small little groups, and you say, right, I'm going to teach each of you up beside me now today to say your poem. And they're all working away on their little projects, and you take the child, and the child is reading the poem. And then that's your opportunity to say, are you okay with that? Or, how are you getting on with that? Do you enjoy that? And work with the child. But it's building trust first. It is about building trust, and that they feel you're good, and that you're giving them positive reinforcement. And
you're not judging them.
Don't judge. But no. I'm just positive all the time. Well done, excellent. That's so good. And you'll watch the face change. You will watch the face change.
I remember, Maura, when I was teaching in Kochi, there was this boy who was ill-treated by his school teacher. And he had just stopped believing in himself. He wouldn't speak, and a very, very bright boy. He loved playing soccer, but humiliated by the teacher in front of the whole class. So he had lost confidence in himself, and we actually took him into our drama program, and we worked along with him. And after the first Trinity exam that he took, there was a major change. And that also happens, and that's one of the reasons why, we had discussed long time ago. What Trinity does is that the examiners do not judge the child. They are there to assess the child and make the child feel comfortable. So children are always, in that thread that, I have to go and present something in front of somebody, and then they're going to judge us and give us marks. But because of this whole, the whole conduct of the examination and the preparation for the examination, it kind of helped the child blossom. And his mother just messaged me the other day that he's the grandmaster junior level in his state right now in chess.
Good.
So
it's wonderful. And obviously he has the confidence now to go,
yes.
and to do it. But I wholeheartedly agree with you about the Trinity exams. They're gentle, they're not challenging. You pace it, you go at your own speed, and bring you along. It's a development step by step by step, and that brings you along and encourages. And when they get, they really couldn't care less about, the examiner's comments on the sheets. I mean, that is, they just don't want. They just, what's the mark? What mark? You'll get the little children, and they go, did I pass? Did I pass? And well, we just have to wait and see. So you can see the anxiety, and sometimes I'll say to them, well, I'm smiling, so maybe you could smile too, and they get, So the exams are great, and this, any board really, and the speech and drama. I happen, be favor the Trinity, obviously, but they're done in such a way. And I've had people think that this is elocution, and it's important to say this is not elocution. This is not learning how to speak. You know how to speak. You tidy up maybe the odd little bit, but this is about self-development, and this is about confidence and giving your child independence as well, that when you're not there, they can speak up for themselves. And you look at sometimes the helicopter parents, and they do everything for the child, and you feel like saying, just let them take a wee step on their own. When they were learning to walk, they fell and they get up again. They'll be fine. So what we're doing as teachers, as examiners, is actually letting them take those little steps themselves, that come into the room on their own. I know it's done through digital, but they come through the door on their own. Mum's not, or dad's not coming in holding their hand. That's that lovely little independence that we're giving them to come and speak and perform is in front of us. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. It's great.
It is. We have just 2 more minutes to go. I'll take a last question. Mithali is asking, what about the pronunciation part for a child who is learning English and parents don't understand the language at all? How can you help those children? I think we were speaking about this a little while ago, but if you could just elaborate on that a little.
Yeah, that is a tough call. That is a tough call because the house is actually speaking a different language, and the child is not being exposed to it in the home, whereas the child who is exposed to it at home will learn it that much more quicker. What I would say is turn to technology, in that there is so much out there now. You can get poems and they'll have a video and the pronunciation and the words underneath as well. Whoever is the English teacher as well will direct you towards appropriate materials and reinforcement of the pronunciation for the child. Also, if you can get English access to any sort of English children's programs, exposure through that, through radio or audiobooks. Audiobooks are great because they can actually hear and follow, the book at the same time. So you can get that, and that's a good one for the pronunciation. But I completely understand it's difficult. I have seen families where one or t'other or both of the parents will say, look, if my child's going to learn that language, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try as well. And that's helpful where the parent is trying. The child generally will go faster than the parent. It is to do with, as we get older, our ability to hear becomes less and less, hear the different sounds. So that's what I would recommend. Ask the English language teacher for supplementary material or guidance on what to watch on TV channels or YouTube channels, and audiobooks as well.
Can we take one last question, Maura? Shilpa is asking how to tackle regional differences and dialects in Indian English. So I think I'll add a question to this. How important is diction, English language diction, like proper British English diction, while communicating in English?
Okay, diction is important. There is no doubt about that. But when we speak, it's to be understood. So if it's a heavy Gujarati accent, for example, if I can understand you, it doesn't really matter. I know what you're saying. So yes, you would want it to be clearer and more diction if you can. But essentially, a French person speaking English speaks with a heavy French accent. The cat, the dog. Okay, I know about the cat and the dog. If it's the cat and the dog, that's better than the cat, the dog. But every language, when you speak English, it will give you its own mother tongue interference, and so you can work out, well, that person is Italian or that person's German, because you hear the sounds that are native, that are to that language. So that mother tongue interference will always be there. So yes, diction. Of course, you would want it to be as clear as you possibly can, but it will require work and it requires exercises, but it can be done. But it requires a professional who understands the mechanics of the mouth and understands your mother tongue interference and how to rid you of those quickly and efficiently through proper vocal exercises. But yes, it can be done.
Great. Thank you so much, Maura.
Welcome.
We have been speaking for an hour. Time just flew.
That's what happens when you put you and I together.
But thank you so much for taking out time and sharing your ideas, your views, and your tips with us. I'm sure the teachers will benefit. Please do apply these, teachers and parents who have been watching us, and do let us know whether these talks that we have every week work or not. Because we've been doing, this is the 44th episode, Maura, and it will be, we'll be completing 1 year in April of Method in Madness.
I know. I was watching Kala Ramesh on haiku. It was,
yes.
And Graham was on with Shakespeare. Absolutely, they're wonderful sessions. They really are, Vaishali. I'm really impressed with them, and very interesting. Very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And please do subscribe to our channel. Share this with your friends and family. The more you share, the more you care. And this platform is for us, for you, for all of us who work with children, who are growing up with children. Thank you so much. Have a blessed night, everybody. Thank you, Maura.
Thank you so much, Vaishali. Bye, everybody.